What's up, guys? This is Open Source Fiend coming back with a follow-up to my install League of Legends on Linux from May. So I'm coming back to answer some of the questions that you guys put in the comments. I originally recorded this video and it took me over 2 hours because it took me that long to figure out how to manually open the shell if it doesn't work for you and play on Linux. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Jerome says that he can't get the open a shell button to work. So for me, I don't have that problem, but I'll show you what I was able to figure out. So we'll hit configure here. I opened up Play on Linux. So hit configure, go to the virtual drive that you've put Linux in. I have two here, but just pick the one that you need to use. And go to miscellaneous, and you can open a shell. And boom, I get a shell that's opened to the that's open, and it uses the Wine version that this particular Play on Linux virtual drive is using. Now, if you can't get this to open up, I honestly don't know what would cause that to happen, but I'll show you some of the things I came up with that you can try. There's no guarantee that this is actually going to work. So the first thing that I would check is the preferred applications. So for me in Linux Mint, it's actually called preferred applications. So open up your start menu, type in preferred, and open this up. On whatever Linux you're using, it might be something different. I don't know what it's called in Ubuntu. Maybe default applications. The point being, make sure that you have something set for the terminal. I don't know how this could get unset, but for me, this is the only thing that I can think of. Make sure that you have a terminal program set so that when Play on Linux tries to open a shell, it actually has something to open it with. Potentially, if you use something other than bash, like if you're using ZSH or I don't even know what the other ones are. If you're using something other than bash as a default, maybe that'll have something to do with it. It's possible that Play on Linux will only work with a bash terminal environment. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. But if setting your preferred or default terminal application doesn't work, then the majority of the time that I spent recording the other video, which I may or may not publish, if you guys really want to see how I came to the script that I'm about to show you, then let me know and I'll post the video. Here's what I came up with. So when Play on Linux opens up this shell, there must be some way for a person to type something into the terminal that opens this up for themselves. And I was able to figure out what that was. So right now this terminal is running, and it was executed in such a way, there was some command that was run somewhere that allowed this to open up. And because we're on Linux, it's relatively easy to figure out what that was. So I'm going to open up a separate terminal. This is just a regular Linux terminal. It's not a special Play on Linux terminal. And I'm going to run ps-aux pipe grep play for Play on Linux. So this is going to look at all of the processes that are running, and it's only going to show me the ones that contain the word play. It's kind of hard to read. Okay, and that's still not really any easier to read. Let's do it one more time. There we go. I don't necessarily know what these are. I'm going to guess that this is Play on Linux running, so it's this window here in the background, or this one. But this that looks interesting to me. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it myself. And of course it doesn't do anything. So what I was able to figure out is that that really is the right command. And I can verify that by running it in the Play on Linux terminal. Now don't worry, I know this doesn't help you if you can't get this shell to open, but we'll get to that. So if I run this here, boom, it opens up that terminal. Now the problem is we can't do that from our normal Linux terminal, but don't worry, I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to exit that, and I'm going to exit this. What this tells me is that that Play on Linux terminal has something, probably an environment variable defined, that we need to pass it in order to make sure that it has the information that it needs. So without going through every single step I went through before, I'll show you the basics. So one of the first things I did was I took a look at this actual file. So I'm going to open this up in Nano. You can open it up in whatever you want. And sure enough, there are some environment variables. So since Play on Linux isn't defined up here anywhere, we can define it from the command line. So for instance, if I echo Play on Linux. Now, don't do what I'm doing right now. This is just, you don't want to modify this file. This is just for me to demonstrate something to you. And I think I have to do this as sudo. Damn it. Let's get out of here. Let's do that again. So go down here and I'm going to echo that, and I think we should put it in quotes. So if I run this again, I know it echoed because that's a blank line, but it doesn't have that environment variable. And just by looking at the source here, if this environment variable doesn't equal anything, meaning it's an empty string, then it's going to exit. So I know for a fact that it's not actually going anywhere. So without wasting your time and showing you every single thing that I went through to figure out how to fix this problem, I'll just show you what I came up with. So I started by, I tried to manually add all the environment variables that you might need. You have Play on Linux here. Down here, there's a POL user root. I tried adding all these things myself, but I still couldn't get it to work. So I decided to pursue the environment variable thing because it seemed like the only way to give a terminal something that it didn't already have access to. Took me a while, but I was able to extract all of the environment variables that it should need. Now I can't say that with certainty, but I'll show you how I got those variables. So I'm going to open a shell, and keep in mind, I know you can't do this. I will give you the environment variables that you need. So if from this terminal, if I do a print env, these are all of the environment variables that Play on Linux has access to, or at least this terminal that it has access to. It took a while to go through these and figure out which ones are actually needed, but I wanted to show you where these came from, so that when you take a look at the script that I wrote, you don't think that I just either pulled these out of my ass or I'm trying to do something malicious. This is where they came from, and because you can't open the terminal, you can't actually verify that, but this is where I got them from, I'm telling you. So, having said that, I went ahead and I extracted all of those environment variables. I figured out which ones Play on Linux was injecting, which ones Play on Linux actually needed, and I put those in a script for you. So let's go to projects. So here's this script file that I wrote, or the script that I wrote, and you'll see the .git because I did in fact put it on GitHub, but and you can get the link to the GitHub in the description. But here is the script. We'll start down at the bottom here. So these are all of those environment variables that you saw from the Play on Linux terminal, which I've now closed, but I'll open it up again. This is where I got them from. And what I do is I take all these the environment variables that Play on Linux was needed from here, and after defining all of those, it really does come back to that one command that I showed you earlier. This one, right? That's the file. This was the correct command. It just couldn't execute correctly because it needed access to literally all of this information. It was a pain not knowing that these all really are required. So, yeah. So those are the environment variables. That's where they come from. I showed you where this particular command comes from, but now the variables at the top. Don't worry about arbitrary value yet. So my prefix, I have a comment in here stating what this is for. Sorry about the choppiness in the video. I don't know why it's doing that. Something about Open Broadcaster with Linux. You don't necessarily have to read these things here in this video. I'm just trying to show you where they came from. If you actually want to read these, go to the GitHub link. My prefix is probably the only thing you'll need to change, and if you followed my first video to a T, you might not need to change it at all. This is the name of the virtual drive. So if I execute this script, you'll see that it really does work. Here it is. And here's wine version, and you can see that it's in the right place. Now, how do you know what you need to put here? Well, that comes back to what the name of your virtual drive is. So here, the name of my virtual drive here is lol, so I put lol there. If I wanted to do it with lol2, I would make this lol2. If I wanted to do it with Halo SPV3, I would make this Halo SPV3. But we're going to go with lol. And just to show you that that really does make a difference, let's do that, save it. Now I'm in the Halo SPV3 drive, or virtual drive. So we'll set that back to lol. For my version, that's your version of Play on Linux. Somebody in the comments said that if you have like 4.2.11 or above, maybe the shell doesn't work. I can neither confirm nor deny that. But if you have a version other than 4.2.10, you can put that in here. I really don't know what that has to do with anything, or whether or not that actually breaks the open a shell button. But I pulled this out to make it a variable so that if you wanted to, you could configure it. The wine version, you should be using 2.8 staging, at least according to Andy. And in my experience, that one works as well. If you decided that you wanted to use a different wine version, you would just put that here. And the way, let's see. I don't remember how I chose a particular wine version for a particular drive. It's been a while since I made that initial video. I think there's a way to see the wine versions here. Manage wine versions. Yeah, so the one that I'm using for this particular virtual drive, I guess you can't change it once you've set up a virtual drive with wine. I guess you'd have to create another virtual drive if you wanted to use a different version of wine. But let's open that up. Let's see, so 2.8 staging. That's not the exact name, but that'll at least tell you which version of wine you're using. I know that I'm using 2.8 staging, so that's what I put there. So here's 2.8 staging, and I know that's what I'm using, so that's what I put there. If I weren't using 2.8 staging, if I were using 2.13 maybe, I'm not, and don't do this, but if you were, and if you knew that it was going to work, then you would just change this to 2.13. Or if you were using 2.13 staging, you'd do that. But for now, Andy and I recommend 2.8. So that's it for these. These are the only ones you would need to touch, and in my opinion, my prefix is the only one that you actually need to change. These other ones, Play on Linux requires them to be set. A value for each one of those environment variables has to exist, but it doesn't matter what that value is. So if you were to take these out, the script wouldn't work. So I just set the arbitrary value to 1. There's no need to change that. It was just easier for me to pull it out rather than having a bunch of 1s here. I mean, it doesn't truly matter, but I thought it was worth pointing that out, that it doesn't matter what you supply to these. It doesn't have to be 1. It could be 2, or it could be anything. Doesn't matter. So really all you should have to change is my prefix. And that's it. And just to make sure I didn't break it, let's run that again. Cool. All right. So, for Jerome, I hope that helps. I've already commented to you and put the link in a comment. It'll also be in the description of the new of this video. Here's the script on GitHub. So I hope that works for you. I hope that helps. I don't know how many other people had that problem, but maybe that'll work for you. All right, moving on to the dreaded Andy. Andy, if you're watching this, once again, thanks for watching and thanks for the comment. So one of Andy's recommendations was to install D3DX version, well, and he corrected me, it's not a version, D3DX9_36. So let's close that. That's what we're going to do now. So I have two virtual drives here for League of Legends. I've already done it for LOL, so I'm gonna do this DirectX 9 36 installation for this drive. Now you might be inclined to go right to install components and install it. Maybe you could do that, but I'd like to get rid of the one that's there first. So let's go into configure wine. Move that up. Wrong one. Wrong button. So make sure I'm on the right monitor here. All right. So go to now I've messed myself up because I switched monitors. Hit configure wine. We'll start with that. Once that comes up, here's your settings. Go to libraries, and here's the D3DX943 that I recommended in the previous video to install. Go ahead and remove that. Hit OK. And now go to install components, and D3DX9, Andy says 36. I don't know how he knows that fixes the most issues, but since he's the one who put the guide together, I trust him. So we're going to install 36. Okay, and you guys didn't see it, but the thing flashed open and it installed. So we're going to confirm that. I'll go back to the wine tab, configure wine, and go to libraries again. Let's get this down a little. And boom. D3DX936. Okay. Thank you for the tip, Andy. Also, he says disabling close client when entering a game in the settings will fix the issues when you exit a game. I did try this out on the previous recording of this video, and yeah, it definitely works. So let's go ahead. Actually, I'll use the other one here. There was an update that took a while, so this one's already been updated. And let's launch this. So the setting that Andy was referring to, you don't have to be in-game to set it, but if you're curious, I'm going to start a game and exit the game. Oh, well, it just crashed. Off to a good start. I really don't want to sit through that update again, so let's try this again. Okay, didn't crash that time. Now, in case you were wondering, I didn't edit that out because you should know that this is not always perfect. You will run into issues because this is not an official client. But I've never had it crash during a game. Really, it only crashes with the client. But yes, that can happen. All right. So it took me a while to find the settings up here next to the X, and I've already unchecked it, but by default it's checked. You want to uncheck it so that the client remains open. So I'll show you what that looks like and how much faster it is. And you're really only going to appreciate this if you've actually if you've already played and you have to wait after you finish every game for the client to load back up, which sometimes just never happens. If this is your first time through, then you're not going to know how much faster this is. All right. Oh, while we're here, something else that another issue that I've run into is that if you Alt Tab out of the game, which I do, when you click back in, there's something wrong with the clicker. Like, I'm not holding the button to do that stuff. That's just happening. So I can right click, but my left click is messed up. It won't stop pinging. So the way to fix this is to Alt Tab, and then you actually have to manually click on the wine icon. So I click on that. Now I'm clicking around, and it's not pinging. So now I can actually do stuff. And And by do stuff, I mean like click on things in the options. If I Alt-Tab out and come back in, now I can't click anywhere, which sucks. So that's how you fix that issue. I don't know if you guys have run into that. Nobody commented on it. So I'll exit the game. And if you have played a game before and you waited for the client to come back up, I mean, that was basically instant. That was really fast. So the point is, based on Andy's recommendation, and after trying it, I highly recommend that you uncheck close client during game. Alright, so that's it for Andy's stuff. There were multiple comments about something about there being issues with the text. Something about blocky text, or it's hard to read. I responded to the people I could respond to here, because multiple people have this problem. I never ran into this problem. Andy says there isn't a fix that he knows of. I really don't know what to tell you guys. I didn't run into that issue. Everything that I did to set up my League of Legends game, I showed you in the other video. Nothing else special that I did. So I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you guys. If any of you come up with a solution or have any leads or anything, definitely leave a comment, or I would also encourage you to record a video like this, if you're able to fix it, because there's probably going to be something different about your environment that I either can't replicate or wouldn't want to because it would break something. I record these videos using Open Broadcaster, so yeah, if you know how to fix that, or even if you have that issue, make a video of it. So sorry I can't help you guys with that one. A lot of you guys said thank you, so you're welcome. That's awesome. I appreciate the positive comments. I appreciate the thumbs up, and I appreciate even the subscriptions that I got. So thanks, guys. I'm glad I could help you. And it looks like a lot of you guys, I mean, this is probably one of the most positive comment sections on any YouTube video that I've ever seen. You guys are talking to each other and trying to help each other, so I appreciate that as well. The last thing that I've got for you guys is about starting over. So some of you guys had problems, and there's no way that I could possibly troubleshoot them over a YouTube video or over YouTube comments even. So for some of you, I recommend that you just start over from the beginning. So start over again with this video. And one of you guys asked me how to do that. So let's find that one. Oh, I missed it. Here we go. How can I uninstall everything and start over at the beginning? So I'm actually not going to uninstall everything, but if you did want to do that, let's go to Configure. I believe you could just click on the virtual drive and then click Remove. I'm not going to do that, but if you wanted to delete it and start over, you could. A better option, at least to start with, like once you get something working, then you can go back and you can delete whatever you want. So question is, how do you start over? And here's the answer. So click on Configure and choose, or actually don't choose any of the virtual drives, it doesn't matter. Click on New down at the bottom left. And it's going to put this little pop-up here. This is going to walk you through the virtual drive creation. So at this point, and if I remember correctly, you want to choose 32-bit. and you want to choose 2.8 staging for the version of Wine, and we'll call this one lol3. Hit next. Okay, so that's it. Still in the configure window, you go to lol3, and you can do all of the stuff that you would need to do. I'm not going to walk you through actually installing League of Legends in this particular video. My first video was everything that I did, so come here, choose Windows XP, etc., remove a bunch of remove some libraries. Oh, they're not even here yet. But this is how you start from a new drive. And with this, you should be able to install League of Legends again from scratch. LOL3, LOL2, and LOL, they don't talk to one another. They're all completely separate and isolated. And that's one of the reasons that I made this video in the first place, or the first one, was because Play on Linux makes it real easy to have separate, isolated Wine environments for this reason. Because League of Legends could become corrupt, you could mess something up. I've messed things up, that's why I have two. So that's how you do it. That is how you would start over. And once you've created that extra virtual drive, then you would follow the steps in the first video. So that's it, guys. That's it for at least all of the comments that are here as of today. Like I said, some of you had some black screens or some things crash immediately. The only thing I can recommend is to create a new drive and just start over and watch that first video again. So that's it. I hope you guys find this helpful, and thanks again for the thumbs up. Thanks for all the views. Thanks for the subscriptions. Hopefully I'll put another one up here soon.